Hi everyone. What have we got after watching all these sessions in the channel so far? Watch the recap video for an express knowledge catch-up. We have got some chess knowledge, we understand some things. We know what elements to consider to evaluate a position. We know how to evaluate a position, another skill. Watch Anna's video on how to evaluate any chess position. And we know of a way to go about thinking during a game. We said we want to evaluate to avoid I don't know what to do moments. The expectation is that if we know what to do in a position, we should be able to find good or better moves. It isn't rare where we run out of ideas when playing. Even titled players run out of ideas in their games sometimes. All the previous learning sessions and labs mainly targeted knowledge and understanding. Probably somewhat a tedious part. Now we will solve exercises to turn that knowledge understanding into skill. Doing exercises should be more fun or more digestible. Knowledge helps us play better, but knowledge alone isn't the deciding factor in a game between two players. Knowledge being equal, the player who understands better and has better skills is likely to prevail. Where knowledge and understanding is equal, the player with better skills is more likely to prevail. Welcome, chess masters. So, what helps us find or choose our move? It is our understanding, then our skill, that has the bigger influence in finding good moves. They are the areas inside the dotted line in this infographic. That's why it is now time to exercise and play chess. In other words, it is time to develop our skills. We will devote upcoming videos in this channel to do that. To put it briefly, what is involved in choosing a move? Some knowledge and understanding. But you still need to see the move or find it on the board and then execute it. Let me now share a small sample of the exercises we will be doing, targeting the topics we have discussed here. Let me start with the topic attacking to win material. In this position, it is white to move. Black is threatening knight f4. Check, a double attack on the king and the rook. White moved king e4, which allows black to win material by double attacking the bishop and the rook with the pawn on c4. However, if it is played immediately, white would just take the pawn. So, to win material, black played rook b4, check first. The king gets out of check, and now c4, a double attack. White can play bishop, takes c4, rook takes c4, leaving black with an extra piece. If white instead of bishop c4 plays c3, hoping for pawn takes rook, pawn takes rook, and not falling behind in material, black can play rook takes on b3, ending up with an extra piece. Now white has to move away the rook from attack. It can take this pawn here, and black could play rook a3, attacking the passed pawn on a4. And this position should be winning for black. Let's go to another sample. This is another position where we want to attack to win material. In this position, it is black to move. Black is attacking the bishop on e2, which is unguarded, and can capture it. However, white is attacking the black knight, which is unguarded, and can capture it next move. Black, however, can capture the bishop on e2, and if white captures the knight, black can capture this rook, which is unguarded. If white tries capturing the rook on a8 first, hoping for rook takes a8 and then capturing the knight, black can recapture the rook on a8 with the knight, saving the knight from attack. This way, black ends up with an extra piece, a rook and 3 minor pieces against a rook and 2 minor pieces for white. This should be a winning position for black. Now let's go to another example. The topic here is checkmate. In this position, it is black to move. Black is attacking the rook on e1 and can capture it with check and promote to queen, delivering checkmate in 1. Let's go to another example. In this position, it is mate in 1. White can capture on g7 with check. King gets out of check, and now queen takes on h6, checkmate. Let's go to another example. This is a mate in 2 position. It is black to move. If you see, in this position, the white king has very limited options. Actually, it cannot move. That means if black is able to give a check, the white king will be in trouble. And in this position, black can play bishop b5, check. The only way to get out of check for white is playing c4, in which case black can recapture the c4 pawn with the bishop, checkmate. Let's go to another example. This is a position defending against mate. In this position, white is threatening checkmate. It is black to move. White is threatening checkmate in 1 by taking on g7 with the queen. If you remember from the discussion about defending against checkmate, one of the ways to stop the mate threat is capturing the assisting piece. In this position, black can play king takes rook. There is no longer a checkmate threat. White, however, did play queen h5 check to get out of check. Moving the king away to a safe square is the only move. And now white played knight g5. The knight was being attacked and threatened to be taken. Now there is another checkmate threat by white. Queen h7, checkmate. How to defend against this mate threat? Another way to stop a mate threat is by guarding the mate square. In this position, black played f4. Good move. Now the black queen is guarding or controlling the mate square. And in this position, black is up in material and exchange up. Let's go to another example. Position, black is threatening checkmate on g1 with the rook. Rook g1 checkmate. Another one of the ways to defend against the mate threat is preparing to move the king away. In this position, white could defend against the mate threat by guarding or controlling the mate square with the rook. However, the c1 square is controlled by the black bishop and the rook could be taken. That's why that's not an option for white because he would lose significant material to defend against the mate threat. There is, however, another move that white can make, h3, preparing to move the king away. Now, if black plays rook g1 check, it is no longer a mate. The white king can escape to a safe square. Let's go to another sample. In this position, it is about passed pawn promotion. It is white to move. Black is threatening capturing the pawn on d5. In this position, white can play pawn takes on c6, attacking the rook on d6, and attacking this pawn on b7 at the same time. If black recaptures the pawn with a rook, it loses the rook on d8. If black recaptures the pawn with a pawn, it loses the rook on d6. That's why black recapture or capture the rook on d2 first. Right away, after capturing on d2, there is a mate threat that white has to address. The mate threat is rook takes, check, king goes to a safe square, and then rook d2, checkmate. So before capturing on b7, white has to address the mate threat, rook takes. And now black has two choices, losing the rook or losing the pawn on b7. If black captures on d2, then white has this nice move, c7. A pawn will promote, black cannot stop it from promotion. If black captures on c6, it loses a rook on d8, check, and the game. And if black does not capture either the pawn or the rook and plays rook c8, then white ends up with a pawn on the 7th rank, which is one square away from promotion. The rook moves away from attack, attacking the unguarded pawn on b7, and white defends that passed pawn on the 7th rank. Eventually white will push this pawn up to promote and will give white a significant advantage to win the game. Whereas black's possibility of creating a passed pawn on the king side will take a lot more time, and that passed pawn can be easily stopped by the white king. Let's move on to another sample. This sample is about pawn promotion, pawn under promotion. In this position, it is black to move. If black plays e1 queen, then white can play rook e8 check and take the queen that black just promoted to. That's why in this position black can play instead rook takes g2 check, and if white moves to c6, he will promote to knight, delivering checkmate. That is passed pawn under promotion. In our sessions about passed pawn, we said that we promote to the piece that delivers checkmate or that helps us win the game. In this case, promoting to a knight delivered checkmate. If white, instead of playing king f3, plays king to h4, now the king is in a position where if we promote the e2 pawn to queen, deliver checkmate. So black will promote to queen, or it can promote to bishop and deliver checkmate. There is no way to get out of this check for the white king. Cannot block the check, cannot move the king to a safe square, and cannot capture the attacking or checking piece. Let's move on to another sample. This one is about under promotion as well. In this position, it is white to move. White is attacking the rook, black rook on f8, and it could capture it and promote, but the king, the black king, could take back. That's why in this position white played a very nice tactic instead, which is queen takes h7, check, only move to get out of check, capturing the checking piece. And now white has this nice under promotion to knight, double attack, check, and attack to the queen. Kings move to a safe square, and white captures the black queen, ending up with a material advantage that gives him winning possibilities in this game. Hope you found this sample illustrative of what we will be solving. The idea is to walk you through the solution of exercises, so to speak, rather than asking you to find the solution, so that we learn and understand how and when tactical opportunities can be exploited to gain an advantage. By solving exercises, we are targeting our skills, particularly board vision, noticing the attacks so we avoid hanging pieces, noticing what pieces control what squares to avoid hanging squares, noticing what is guarded and what isn't, and a bit of calculation. Let's move on to the position in the thumbnail of this video. Congrats if you found the solution. In this position, it is black to move, and black can win material. Black has an advantage, has a passed pawn two squares away from promotion. If the rook moves away horizontally, it will leave the pawn unguarded, and white could take it. So to move the rook away from blocking its own pawn, black can play this move, check, king gets out of check, and now white pushes the pawn one more square. If white wants to stop this pawn from promotion, it can do so by moving the rook behind the black pawn. But now black has this nice tactical possibility of a skewer by moving the rook away horizontally, so that if white captures the black pawn, because it was threatening to be promoted, now black can check the white king, king moves away out of check, and black captures the white rook. So that is a very nice tactical opportunity that black can exploit to promote its pawn or to win material by a skewer the white king and winning the rook. If white tries to stop the black pawn from promoting by giving checks, then black will move its king out of check towards the black pawn. And if now white tries to move the king to g2 to avoid that skewer, then black can still promote its pawn by gaining a tempo, checking the white king, and if the white king captures the rook, now the black pawn promotes to queen with check, winning with a winning advantage for black. To summarize very briefly, Bobby Fischer said that tactics flow from a superior position. What he did not say is that tactics can also start flowing when a move does two or more things at the same time, or after our opponent has made a mistake that we can exploit tactically. Let me know in the comments if you found this discussion helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Start your healthier lifestyle now. Get a 15% discount on your entire order online at glowandgo.herbalife.com. Good luck on your next games. Take care.